Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Ancient Relics and Talkie Religions, where we talk about old relics and religion. Nope, that's not what this is about. No, not quite. Anyways, we're going to talk about our Ancient Relics and Hokey Religions game, and this is our second episode because we figured since we couldn't play tonight, and last time we did this, we didn't have certain somebody able to attend. So why not get Evan's perspective? Which brings me to the fact that I am joined by my good friend at It's Evbo. Go follow him on Twitter, Twitch, all the things and the stuff. And while you're at it, if you're watching this on Twitch, hit the follow button, and if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. You'll like it. Evan, how you doing, my good friend?
Hello. I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay. As we discussed very briefly before going live, I'm a little under the weather, so forgive. I will do my best to be muting the noises that my body wants to make because I am under the weather. Barack Obama was the person who couldn't make it last episode. Thank you, Skelly. I was going to actually mention that.
Yeah, that's exactly.
It's going to be so good. We had the Skype call running.
He seems to be like that guy, though, right? Like, he keeps saying he'll be there.
He does. I know. He just never picks up.
Ooh, I used to be president. Okay. Used to run the United States of America. Yes, I'm busy.
Yeah.
But welcome, Skelly, Nia, all the friends that might be in chat right now.
Yeah, it's so good to see y'all. Yeah. It's sad that we aren't here for a for a proper session.
Yep.
But things happen.
Life happens, and GCX charity stream went really well, which was the reason why we missed a couple of weeks. We raised Rare Drop / GCX. They raised over $4 million for St. Jude's, which is just amazing, and that's just to everybody that put in a hard work there. Just thank you. That is. Quite frankly, you're doing God's work, so keep it up. And let's see. So this game, of course, is on the Rare Drop Roleplay channel, which is at twitch.tv/raredrop. If you're interested in catching up on old episodes, the podcast version is the way to go there. We have some stuff on our YouTube channel, but there's a new YouTube channel, and they're working on all those releases. So the Spotify, the iTunes, Apple things, and other podcast stuff, that's where you'll find it. So that's where you get the old episodes. And then this week on J&J we released our second creature feature on the Banshee, and that's a very fun creature with a lot of deep lore and storytelling potential for your specific world. So if you haven't caught that one, I would suggest you do so. So Evan, last time we got to ask a lot of Josh got to ask us a lot of questions, and the first one that he asked, and I'm really curious what you're gonna say here.
Okay. I'm
I'm
very excited. I just want to real quick say it was really cool. I'm sad that I didn't get to make the last Talkie Religions, but it was very cool to watch and see what everyone's perspectives were on things, especially things that were like, well, I'm not really sure how Echo feels about that, but this is what I think. And there was some that was like, it was pretty close, or like, there might be more.
Like, you don't know him as well as you think you do. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I can't wait to hear some of your thoughts and perspective on this.
Yeah.
So Josh just went right off the bat. He said, what was the most shocking moment in the campaign so far? I would say for you and for Echo, if they are different. And just see what your thoughts are there.
Okay, so shocking, I think, is an interesting word to use because it could mean a lot of different things. I think if you want to talk just genuine surprise, the first thing that popped into my head for this question was the time skip. That caught me so off guard, like not even a possibility that.
Why would it?
Right. Why would it happen? And we still don't know the answer. We still don't know the answer to why that happened, but we have our suspicions. And I think that that's what makes that such an interesting thing to do. from a DM perspective and from a player perspective. I mean, it's kind of a scary thought because we really didn't know for a minute. It's like, I don't think it felt like we were down there. We don't even still know. Maybe we were down there for months. We don't think we were, but
right. Like it's easy to assume that going through that well and breaking through the ice, it's easy to assume that that's when that jump happened, right? That's maybe the most obvious point, but like Nia just wrote in chat, Josh knows everything. Either that or he's just like, let me just throw this out there and see what they think about it. I don't know. I've done things like that as a DM before. But yeah, maybe there was some kind of weird, I don't know, maybe when the boombox exploded. I don't know. It could be something.
No. I think we've talked about this. I don't want to necessarily, I mean, I guess that's the whole point of this thing.
Well, you don't want to go too far behind the screen.
Well, but I mean, this wouldn't necessarily be spoiling anything, but I'll say that and by this point probably Echo's assumption and this, well, you know what, maybe we'll hold off on that. Echo's got an idea of what that might be, and this may come up later during the conversation depending on what we talk about.
Sure.
So let's hold off on that.
Do you think Josh does? Yeah, I like the way Josh smiles when he's got his evil DM grin.
Yes.
Would you say that is the same shocking moment for Echo as the same for you, or do you think that would be different? Because sometimes we have an idea of what some of our own players are going to do, like Michael alluded to. He's like, well, I was talking about trying to kill Freeman right up until he did it, but it's still, for me, there still was shock there.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't shocking for Echo because he kind of gave him the okay. I mean, not really gave him the okay, but talked to him about it in a way that like kind of helped both of them unpack that idea. Like Echo was not okay with saying, go ahead and kill him, but Echo was okay with saying, I'm not the one who can make that choice. Like I wouldn't kill him because I don't think I'm capable of just doing that. Like preemptively making a choice against someone who may be a threat is that's heavy. That's something that Echo has been dealing with. Actually, that's a theme of his the entire campaign. Like the goblin, that we met in the forest, and like we killed like 2 goblins or whatever, and then there was the third little guy, and
even the very first time I think we had combat when the thugs surrounded us in the alley.
Yeah,
I think Vale kill him. Shot the first shot. Yeah, but even then it was like, all right, we're doing this.
Yeah. But yeah, that's.
So would that be? Would the time skip be the same for him?
I think it would be. The Mac attacking Freeman would not. It wasn't really a shock. He obviously knew it was coming. The Vale revealing that he was a warlock wasn't really a shock as much as it was like a gut punch.
And almost kind of just confirming something he suspected, but didn't know exactly.
He just didn't know how to. Like he's heard of. I think we discussed during the game that Echo would have, like what a warlock is. It's like you've heard of it. It's a thing, but nobody's ever really met one. So the idea that like, all of a sudden his magic looks different and there's something
going on with you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I would say that the time skip was probably the most shocking thing. A runner-up, and again, I only would call this a runner-up because it wasn't a shock. It was just like, again, this was like a deep disappointment. Was Owen after Echo realized what was happening to Owen, like one of the reasons that he didn't like making weapons.
Yeah.
For those who don't recall, when Owen creates a weapon, he puts a piece of himself into it, or he loses a piece of himself. It's not made entirely clear, but basically Owen loses some of his own time.
Yeah, there's some kind of extra cost that we're not aware of or fully.
Yes.
Echo kind of is.
Yes. So after he and Echo had a moment, and Echo was like, well, no, I wouldn't want you to make a weapon because, like, I don't think It's partially like he definitely feels like he doesn't deserve. He felt like he didn't deserve something because of what they talked about and why he's holding on to that piece of his broken staff. He was like, I mean, look, I messed up. This was the thing that belonged to somebody that I care about, and I just left it somewhere to get destroyed. So then Owen gives Vale his weapon, which Echo, understands he doesn't really have anything to say about it. And then he says, oh, also here's this. And there was this heavy heartbreak when that happened, because it was almost like you didn't give me a choice. Like you sacrificed something and I didn't get a say in it. Like you've put this burden of responsibility on me, and I didn't get to say, okay. So it was just like this super loaded moment, but it only was loaded for Echo because everyone else is like, oh, Echo got one too, dang. It's for him, it's just like he was so angry that he just didn't know how to process. He didn't really know how to process it. So, he took it. He was thankful for it, but it was this like, if I don't take it, that's worse. Because it's already gone. Like the sacrifice is made.
It's done.
So I can't let it be for nothing. And that means that Owen saw something in Echo that justified that without him asking for it. And that's
heavy.
It's very heavy.
That's heavy.
It's very heavy.
All right. So you bring up the concept of someone making a choice for Echo that he didn't have a say. And I feel as though that's kind of a thing. That's one of his buttons. You push that button. Depending on the circumstances, he might have a bit of a different reaction, but I feel like that's not the first time that concept has come up for him in this game.
Yeah, one of his major buttons is choice. Not even just for him, but not giving someone a choice or not giving someone a chance. That's part of the reason why, I don't want to attack somebody who hasn't actually done anything. If I can't really justify it, I can't make the assumption that they're going to do something, deserving of being attacked. And that is kind of a flaw, that really is kind of a problem, because sometimes it's too late, by the time
I'm not sure
they
if
could
that's
do something.
I guess in a certain point of view that could be a flaw, but it kind of is just also a thing. Because I think, right? Because the concept of judging someone for something they haven't even done yet. When you're talking time travel, that's in Terminator 2, I think, right? When the guy goes back in time to take out the guy who invents the machine that can get the Terminator going. He's like, I haven't even done it yet, and you're gonna kill me? What is this?
Heavy stuff.
That is very heavy. All right, so another question that Josh had asked is, who is your favorite NPC from the campaign so far? And does Echo have a different favorite NPC, if that's the case? I think I know where you'll go with this, but I'm curious.
It's actually, this is a tough one. And it's funny. I was going to, before we did this, because it was only a little over an hour ago or so that we said, let's do this thing. I was going to go back and watch, skim through and see what the questions were. But then I was like, you know what, actually, maybe let's just not do that. And we'll kind of come in and let the questions be fresh, because I think that's more interesting. So, my favorite NPC so far is probably Owen, because of how fascinating a being he is. He reminds me a lot of oh gosh, what's his name from Lord of the Rings, who didn't make it? Oh, Tom Bombadil. Because I saw John Connor in the chat. So John Connor.
Yes.
So yes, Tom Bombadil. It's just I know there's something, are they a deity, or is this just some guy? I don't know what this person is, and I just find that so interesting. And the more time we spent with him, the deeper that lore got. Because at first, he seemed to be larger than life because there was this big booming voice coming from a hollowed tree. You know, who is this coming into my forest? And then it was just a guy, this guy with an afro, carving wood and painting. And we're like, oh, okay. Oh, I see. You were doing a trick to kind of keep people away. Okay, I get it. But then there's like layers. There's more to it than it seems. This is a man who appreciates tradition almost more than anything, which is fascinating, and something that I respect a lot in certain aspects.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, referring to Baron Eve, the holiday.
Yeah, like Baron Eve, and even just the way that he crafts things. Like almost everything in his house was something that he made.
So it's not just the, correct me if I'm wrong, so it's not just the final products and the actions, it's the entirety of the journey, the experience. It's all has this meaning. And I think anybody that knows, I mean, Owen was my favorite as well. And Josh very clearly based him on Bob Ross, which I think is just amazing. So I feel like there's definitely a that part of Bob Ross in this way really translates well, I think, and I agree. It
transcended what could have been like a parody character. It like this is what D&D is for me, where you take a character named Dr. Pancakes, and then by the end of the campaign, Dr. Ulysses Pancakes is like one of the most beloved characters of the party and has completely transcended what it started out as.
Oh man, is this your game with Skelly?
No, that was just off to the dome.
Because now I really want
Ulysses Pancakes.
Now I really want pancakes, and it just reminds me of one of the favorite clips with Izzy with the waffle iron. Which actually we didn't get the clips. That's right. We didn't get the clips prepared, but did you have a favorite clip from that whole?
Oh gosh,
anything that wasn't shared, if you remember.
Clips. Oh man, that's tough. If you're talking clips that are already made, I don't know, because I don't know what clips are already made.
Or just maybe a favorite moment.
So many good ones. I mean, the Hallowed Eve was one of my favorite moments in the whole thing, but that was a very long moment. That was a pretty extended thing.
Sure.
It was just there was a lot happening there, and the way that everyone carried the weight of it was really fascinating. But I would say, to go back to the previous question, because I never actually finished answering the question. So my favorite NPC is Owen. Echo's favorite NPC is Rain. There was this unexpected connection that happened between the two of them that I think is really fascinating, because it wasn't something that he was expecting, and it certainly wasn't something that Rain was expecting. So it was just it was just a cool thing. That's what Echo's favorite NPC is Miss Rain of Katsimir.
Miss Rain of Katsimir. I think we're having a couple of some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I see that. Some frame
here.
drops.
Yeah, I think that blip may be ending.
Well,
it's back to the green light symbol on my OBS.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll see.
Thank you for that follow. Appreciate that.
Oh, I know who that is.
But yeah, I think the connection between Rain and Echo was really cool. I think they had some moments of tension, in there, which is, I thought, definitely a moment for Vale, where that whole experience with the Tabaxi and the way the group kind of rallied around him very much solidified just how much he feels that he can rely on the three of you. And then to see that you could have some kind of confrontation with Rain at the same time, develop a deep relationship there. And I mean, like, just looking in your backpack later with the sandals, it was just like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Melt-
You're
melted.
showing off, Josh.
melted everybody's hearts. Myself and Echo's hearts just melted into goo.
Yeah.
But
There's been a few
Yeah.
emotional moments in this campaign so far.
oh yeah, oh absolutely.
Mm.
Um,
So Echo's favorite. So your favorite is Owen. Echo's favorite
Yes.
is Rain.
yes. Although I have to say there needs to be an honorary mention for Freeman,
Mm.
because I think he's an excellent character.
Yeah,
He's so good.
he is.
He had this whole like man of mystery. Like you really don't. We still don't know what his intentions are
No.
because the trigger was pulled before that could be
Yes.
established, and that's pretty interesting.
It
But at the end
is.
of the day, he was still trying to kill us, and we had to do what we had to do.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that Josh has had at least intended him as a villain as much as this guy has potential to be a bunch of different things. Let's see what happens when I throw him in their path. But yeah. Josh says he's used Echo's minimum amount of respect and decency line multiple times in real life since then. Oh,
You know what's
my
funny is I
gosh.
don't really remember what the line is. But
I don't remember
know
exactly
what I know what
either.
you're talking about because he was getting absolutely fed up with everything.
This
it was
was
just
with
like, look,
the Tabaxi,
It was with
right?
the Tabaxi, yeah, because we had stuck our necks out more than a couple of times, and we're only being met with animosity. And he was just like,
this was right after the hag
I'm
hunt,
not even
wasn't it?
asking to be best friends. I just want to be treated like a person. So can we do that
Yes.
for a minute?
Yes. I think this was right after the hag hut, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Rain had something had happened, and I think Rain was like, "Was it Vale? Did he do it?" And you're like, "All right, like enough is enough here." Like, I think there was some kind of a moment there.
You might be right, and I think it was something that Vale was kind of. No, it wasn't Vale. There was something that happened that we were
Well, the
hiding
hag-
from them.
The hag said
inadvertently.
something about Vale.
Oh no, it was about the idol,
Yes.
because it was like, oh, you went into was this Vale's idea to go do that, and then
Yeah.
he just like stop.
Yeah, like enough is enough. We just killed the hag. You guys are
Yeah.
a lot more free to roam than you used to be.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was a
Yeah.
very fun moment. So looking back from the beginning, Nia says in chat she can't believe it'll be almost a year soon, which I guess
I know.
it will be
It's about
end
2
of
months,
August,
right?
end of August, beginning of September. I
Mhm.
don't remember exactly offhand.
That's
which
so
is
crazy.
I've loved it so much. So when I think about that, I think we looked at Melly, how Melly had changed from the beginning of the campaign till now, and I feel like Echo has the potential to have a lot of stuff going in, because when we meet him, pretty much, at least as far as from an outsider's perspective, the only thing we really know is he's just this young halfling monk who is on some kind of journey to find something that he even seems confused about. So
Yeah.
from that point until now, which obviously we're dealing with some pretty heavy topics and situations, how do you feel like he's changed? Also, as the person playing him, how do you feel as if you have like grown into his skin throughout this process?
Oh man, yeah. I've definitely come to understand Echo a lot more as we go. But I think that's any character in D&D.
Absolutely.
And I've mentioned this I definitely mentioned this in at least one episode of the show, that a thing that I've started doing, and I don't remember who gave me this advice, but it's just like whenever anything happens in the game, like obviously pay attention to what's happening, but just even if it has nothing to do with your character, just think about how your character would react to that. That's it. It's just, what would their thought be about this thing? It's like, okay.
Yep.
And then you just like jot that down. It's like, this is how they feel about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it becomes this tapestry that is it's super satisfying. But to go back, because that is kind of related.
Mm-hmm.
From in the beginning of the campaign, Echo was pretty. I would say he was just certainly very green. You know, like he still didn't really know much about the world because he went. I don't want to really give anything away. His time in the monastery was very isolated. He would hop out into town sometimes just to like, you know, get some food, you know, for the group and like some fresh ingredients and stuff to make some garbage monk food, which is just sort of like wet cabbage, I would think.
wet cabbage.
It's just sort of like a big pot with some cabbage in it. And it's like, this is nothing.
And once in a while, you get a little corned beef to go with that, and you're good. Never mind.
So, yeah, in the beginning, he was very, very green. And the person that he ended up coming across that ended up traveling with him was the opposite of that. Someone who is super streetwise and kind of always looking for exits, you know, always had to have a plan for everything and very clever. So it was interesting seeing those two worlds meet and how quickly that ended up rubbing off on Echo. Especially once he realized that, you know, through being with this group, he was realizing that he is more than what he thought he was by a pretty huge stretch. So like even the things, you know, like his abilities, his, you know, and like his ability to fight and stuff, he didn't really think of it as much. It was just sort of, it was almost more like a thing to do. And like, well, if I happen to run into any problems, I can take care of it, you know, while I'm traveling. That's fine. It was almost more of a focus, a way to kind of keep his mind straight. But it turns out there's a lot more that he can do with that. And what's funny is that inadvertently, through what he thought was stepping away from his studies by going into adventure with this group, that he has improved his, you know, ability and has grown a lot closer to those ideals, to preserving you know, like things like preserving knowledge and like keeping stories and holding up choice as an ideal. Like it's just these kinds of things. Strengthening is sort of funny that through looking for that independence that he thought was being stifled by what he was studying, it turned out that was the whole point. It's just you have to look at it from a different lens, different perspective.
Yeah, I really like that answer because one of my favorite Echo moments was pretty early, actually, when we were in the temple where we had to do, there's the ash brazier and where we found the idol. When he was in that room and he found the part of the mural where Ioun was, and it was just something very simple, like, I wish you could be here with us and that you weren't locked behind the divine gate. Nothing crazy, but just very simple. And I was just like, I had already, you know, because I think that might have been episode 3, maybe 4. And
I was just early.
Yeah. And I felt like almost immediately I felt just good chemistry with all of us. But that was another moment where I was like, Sometimes just the tiniest little details like that, just, I don't know, they just make a character come to life for me. And I don't know, I just appreciated that so much.
Yeah, that was kind of Echo admitting, you know, even though there was nobody there, but admitting that he wanted to understand the things that he was studying and maybe kind of pretending to understand, because faith is a difficult thing.
Yeah.
That it's almost just like, I came to you, like I was brought to you, if you want to put it that way. Like he kind of wandered into this, but like, I came to you because you're the all-knowing mentor. Like, you're supposed to have all the answers, and I'm just supposed to kind of hope that that's going to happen.
Yep.
So it would just be super cool if you could just be here and just kind of tell me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, man, I actually forgot about that moment too. That was
it was
like
just very
Josh
subtle.
said.
It was very subtle. I mean, I know the answer to this, but for the folks at home and for Nia in chat, is this the first time that you have ever played a monk?
Monks are my favorite class. No, so this would have been my, I mean, really, it would have been my second, maybe third time playing a monk, and that even includes one shots. I haven't really done a lot with monks, but I really liked the class for the short time that I played previously, and this whole show has made me absolutely fall in love with the class. It is, it is underpowered once we start getting later on.
Well, we haven't really seen just how amazing Stunning Strike can be just yet, so let's reserve judgment, I think, on that.
That's completely fair. That's completely fair. But that's hidden behind a save and a hit. You got to hit the attack, and then you have to make them make a save, which is a very common save. It's a low Constitution save.
True, and I understand, because I do think as the farther we progress, that could be a thing. But they also get to do a lot more cool things.
Yes, they do. No, so monks, I've this campaign has solidified why I love monks, and it's because they tend to thrive more outside of combat, and 5e is very combat oriented. So it's kind of fun seeing all these abilities that's sort of like I don't really see the point of this. And there's some uses for it. So I'm excited to, especially for him to progress more, and we'll see what he can really do.
Yeah, I am too. So I think just when you were talking about Echo's journey a little bit so far, that it seems as if, and this is a very common journey for people in life, you grow up and you grow up with a set of ideals and things that you believe in, and it's real. It's not like it's not something you believe in, but then as life starts to happen, or in this case the adventure starts to happen, those ideals and principles that you hold dear get tested, and you kind of get to see, like, all right, do I believe this when it's tough to do so? And I feel like, one of my favorite moments was Echo taking the spearhead off of his staff. That was it was one of those things that was like, okay, yeah, we're Echo, well, at least from the outside looking in, Echo does actually believe what he believes. He's not running from it just because it's inconvenient.
Yeah, I mean, so yes, there is that, which is sticking to your ideals when it's hard to do that. But another thing that I've tried to show off with Echo is that sometimes you do need to change, like with new information. Sometimes you do have to change your ideals a little bit to understand that, like, maybe things aren't exactly the way that I thought they were, and not in a bad way. It's just in a different way. There hasn't necessarily been a huge amount of that, but he's definitely grayed a little bit. That's probably a good way to put it. Where it's like, look, sometimes you have you've got a group of goblins that have slaughtered an entire camp of people, and they're gonna do it again. That's it. Like, that's it. We have to deal with this. There wasn't really much. He took a quick look just to make sure. It's like, this isn't a goblin camp, right? It's not. They're holding stuff that belonged to these people. There's bodies all over the place. That's it. We're dealing with this.
Yeah.
Whereas previously, he may have we don't know. We don't know what this is.
Right. Yeah.
He's starting to understand that duty is, I think a little more after getting the staff from Owen. I think he's starting to understand that sometimes duty has to come first. Like, you have a responsibility when you have, well, I was literally just about to do an upside down cake version of Uncle Ben's quote, so we'll just say, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep. Okay. I was gonna go there if you didn't.
Yeah, I was literally just about to invert it. I was like, that's the same thing. I can't just say that. So, yeah, it's just what it is. Sometimes you have a responsibility that you have to hold up.
Sure. Yeah, what's the great quote? I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but the only thing necessary for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. That's, something to that effect at least. So yeah, that's deep. Echo's hitting some levels here well, I mean, he's a monk. He's a deep thinker. So this is something that's really cool to watch. Well,
it is cool to watch.
Yeah, I feel that's how I feel whenever I'm like, if I'm not in a scene, I'm just like, okay, like I'm an Echo and Mac fan right now, or whoever is talking.
I do that constantly for everybody in this group.
Yeah,
it's always so good. It still blows my mind. I'd say that not everybody's here, but it blows my mind how good of a group this is to roleplay with. Like, just always, it like blows my mind how deep everybody goes with it. Just hard into the paint.
Yeah. So, I mean, along those lines, this is going to get into a little bit more of a recent, current talking topic. I think it's safe to say that throughout the campaign, Mac has always had a little bit of a paranoid way about him. And especially with the Dynasty showing up in Uthadern. He mentioned he puts his hood up now. Like there's some things that are going on, and when Vale had wanted to perhaps buy some studded leather armor, Melly was very hesitant to go about doing it. It feels like there's a lot of paranoia in the group right now. Is there anything that you would feel comfortable sharing, whether it's your own thoughts or potentially Echo's point of view about that?
Yeah, definitely. So Echo is absolutely getting a little uncomfortable in the town. But after the actions of people tend to speak louder to him than anything else, and that could be a bit of a distraction. So the way that the group was treated by Vale's parents, he respected that a lot, and it made him feel a lot better about the situation. And then seeing that there was, because this is where the last session ended off, seeing that there was a Temple of Iyun there, and that there was a possible moment of oh man, some kinship, these guys will definitely have our back. All right, yeah, no, this is great. So I think it's Echo's going to be in a difficult position once things flip a little bit, and he's not with the group.
No,
so
he's not.
It's going to be interesting to see how that transpires.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff going on right now that's not necessarily easy to put your finger on, because there's just a lot of unknowns out there.
Yes.
This is 2 or 3 months past our experience with Freeman, which for us is very recent in our memories as our characters.
Yeah, it feels like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I think, at this point.
But there's I know in our in-game play, or our player chat, I've kind of been the voice of not being paranoid, I would say, as opposed to everybody else. It's like, I don't know, man. I think you should be.
Yeah, I'll say that I have some suspicions as a player, but Echo doesn't really. He doesn't really have any suspicions. He feels pretty. Obviously, he wants to get out, because the first thought of going into town, he was pretty against. Until it was well, no, I've got my family there and my brother, and we'll be fine. Then it's well, I mean, if we've got some people there, then I guess it's okay. So now the idea that well,
it's also easy for Vale to trust his own family than it would be for Echo or Mac or Melly to trust Vale's family. Not that they couldn't, but still, it's well, It's at least easier.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't know, like, because it has been so long, quote unquote, since everything that happened. We don't know who knows about what. We don't know if we're infamous or anything like that. We're assuming that we're not, because it hasn't come up, and they think that they've killed us. So who knows?
Yeah.
But they didn't recover the thing, or at least, who knows if they figured that out by now, that the idol that you gave them is not the thing that we were there for.
We'll see what happens. I gave him the old okey doke on that one.
maybe there's a whole warlock platoon in that army now. They all figured out that they could talk to
a bunch of hexblades come after us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be that would be equally wonderful and awful at the same time. Yeah, so I just wonder exactly how all of that is going to play out, because I mean, I don't know exactly the timing. Josh is in chat right now, so if he wants to answer this, he can. If not, obviously he doesn't have to. But I don't know exactly how long ago it was that Vale's brother saw the Empire leave Meleismere, or that they weren't there between the moments that they saw the Empire there, and then the next time when they went to check back to when they were not.
That's true. I don't think that ever came up.
No, for me it feels like it must be somewhat recent, because it looked like he was on the way back. So at least from my point of view, that makes me think, well, they probably did check it out and they didn't find anything else. Well, they certainly didn't find our bodies, I hope. Right? We're not walking dead people.
Maybe. Who knows?
Josh, are we all dead and we don't know it?
Oh, we're doing a Lost, so we're sort of dead the whole time, and time doesn't matter anymore.
Or a
flat circle.
Sixth Sense, I don't know.
Yeah.
Be closer to 3 weeks, yeah. So certainly they had enough time to go and try to find something else. Who knows exactly?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's definitely an air of paranoia about the group that's just kind of hanging.
Oh yeah, it's tough down there. And it's always fun when moments of levity are undercut by, more serious revelations.
Like gigantic pinto beans.
Yeah, hiring a big strong man to carry a big bean. Hiring a big strong man to carry a bean to a church.
It was one of those moments where you're like, I'm gonna metagame as a player, and I'm gonna just interact with this because this is just gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, it's so goofy. I'm like, well, how are we gonna get this up there? There's probably a big muscling man somewhere nearby.
Yes, exactly.
Oh gosh, it's so funny. Also, I just have to bring up the fact that I love how we're making jokes that are references. We're making jokes that are references to two streams that I did with my cousin.
Yep.
Like at Christmas time that were made into a fantastic, by the way, highlight reel by Skelly.
Yes.
And it just keeps coming up, and the roughly 1,500 people that are watching the stream are just like, this is nothing. This is nothing.
But this nothing is sort of becoming something if they're paying attention. Like, I don't know why these guys love pinto beans, but they do.
Consistent. The biggest ones you can afford.
Yeah. Oh boy.
God, I don't even think I've told Aaron about that.
I would love to hear his reaction if ever you do. I'm like, why is this a thing?
I did tell him that Pinto is becoming kind of a thing.
Yeah. If we ever come up with if Josh ever has us meet a pregnant male hedgehog that runs really fast, well, I'm done.
Is there a hedgehog folk race? There's got to be. It's probably a homebrew.
If not, I'll make one.
God.
So another question that Josh did ask us all was your favorite adventure so far, or arc, however you want to phrase it. We had the Shady Creek Run part, the first few episodes, the entirety of the Savalier Wood, and either the Tabaxi, the Hags. Give getting to Meleus Mir, that whole thing, and then now here we are, you know, with the Journey to, and now in Uthadern. You have anything that seemed to really particularly stand out to you in that way?
That's pretty tough. I would say probably our whole interaction with the Tabaxi is probably my favorite arc, because there's so much stuff that, like, our characters really started to come into their own during that arc, in my opinion. I think a lot of people started figuring stuff out about their characters. That's when Melly started stepping up a little bit more, although I think more so with her in Meleus Mir, but she definitely started stepping up. Right, like the meditation. Yes, the meditation thing, when she was really trying to figure out, like, everyone has like a thing. Everyone has something to help themselves, but Melly feels like she doesn't. So she starts kind of leaning on everybody else and
I love
trying
the
to
growth.
learn more about everybody.
I love the growth of her character, because a sorcerer, they get their powers that just kind of happen, like a mutant in X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, well, I can heal people. And then she just gets caught up in this adventure, and she's like, I got to figure something out. That
is, I think, the most interesting... Melly, I think, is the most interesting way I've seen a sorcerer played. Because, like you said, normally they are like a superhero. That is the easiest way to describe the differences between the casters. You know, a warlock is someone who gets their powers from something. So usually they know what's coming, or they're gifted this power and they can just kind of do it. Wizards have to really work for it. And sorcerers are like a superhero. They can just sort of do it, and they don't necessarily know why. And a lot of the time, or what I think is fascinating, is that she doesn't know why, and she doesn't always know what she can do.
Yeah.
And it's such a different side of it. Like, instead of just being like, well, look at this, I can do this now, she's just sort of like, I don't know what I can, like, I don't know. Yeah. I just think that's really fascinating.
I feel like Izzy has played that really well too.
She really has.
Yeah.
She really has.
I think, well, when she cast Sleet Storm on the Archmage's workshop, it was just one of those things where it's just like, I just willed it to happen somehow. And
yeah, she was just like, if I just need something that can stop him. And then, like, the only room that she could picture was that room. And then just, it's a maelstrom. It's just this horrible ice storm. Yeah. Because that's all she could think of to do. Mm-hmm. It's so good. I love it.
And that's definitely, Josh is right in chat. That's definitely an Izzy thing, because even when she played Daisy in our Dragon of Icefire Peak game, I love her approach to the way she does this, because she gets a concept for where someone starts, and then she kind of just figures it out along the way. And so she plays that, like, coming of age character, I think, really, really well. And it's been, like you said, it's been really fun to watch.
Oh yeah. And then there's Michael's portrayal of Mac, which is super interesting, because he's very, he keeps his heart, he keeps everything up his sleeves. He doesn't really give much away.
Yeah.
And when he does, like, when Mac shows vulnerability, those are some of my favorite moments, because it's like in real life. If you got somebody that hides their feelings, if they're holding on to something, if they're revealing it to you, if they're, trying to present that to you, that probably means that they're way past the point where they should have already done that. Like, it's really on their heart to get it off of their chest.
He's very connected.
Chef's kiss.
Yes, very connected to Mac, and it's been really fun to see him do that too. And I love that between all of our players, the two of them have the least amount of experience, but they focus so much on the role play that it makes me want to do that more. Like, it makes me like, okay, I really got to get into Vale's head right now, because you're just setting the bar so high. Like, but I feel like we all kind of do that to each other in some way or another.
I think we're good about, and I think this just sort of happened naturally. We're pretty good about goading like role play moments out of each other. You know, if we're trying to like
Yes, that's a good way to
whether
put
it's steering things in a certain direction or just being like, I kind of want to see how Melly, like, just I walk over to Melly and I just ask how she's doing, and like that's it. And she could just say, I'm okay, thank you. Or it could turn into like this whole other line of dialogue, and that's been happening pretty frequently.
Well, she did do that to Vale when we got to Owen's house, and it was kind of significant though, because it's like that's kind of the first time she was just like, I'm gonna put a boundary up here, and you know, I'm good. Okay, you know, you just kind of like lost puppy dog, walk away.
Yeah. God, it's been great. Yeah, Josh made a really good point, which is that Mac wonderfully toes the line between stereotypically paranoid murder hobo and incredibly and nuanced and subtle roleplay.
Yes.
He really does.
He does.
Because at first glance, like it wasn't very long, but that's kind of how Michael was playing him, you know, just like complete disregard for the rules, but not, you know, not like of the game. I just mean in, you know, like disregard for the law and just kind of do whatever.
I mean, he's an assassin rogue. You know, his hands are not clean. Mm-hmm. To what extent?
Yes.
We all still don't really know. I mean, he does. Josh probably does. Mm-hmm. But the three of us are all like, I don't know. We have an idea who he is, but that's about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been great. I can't wait to see. I really we're getting, I think, close to the point where we're going to start learning a lot more about each character.
Yes.
Like it feels like we're about to pass that threshold.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're now starting to get some of that with Vale about, you know, his family and his past and where he came from, and there's more to learn, but we're like getting some of that, and it'll be kind of cool to see more bits and pieces coming through. Yeah.
So with Vale and his family, like if you remember when we did the tables to see like, oh, do you have a friend or a rival or that kind of stuff, when we made our characters, all of his were in his family. You know, like I have a rival family member, I have an ally family member, I have this and that. And so I had just a few sentences, maybe a paragraph total about all of them, maybe 2 paragraphs. And I sent it to Josh, and whatever he's going to do with it, I'm not entirely sure. But love Izzy puts me on the spot. What does Vale's house look like? It's like, oh, we're going there. Okay.
That's the best.
And I was like, all right.
I love that. What kind of flooring is it?
But
just
it was
like
cool.
Really.
It was cool because like it, you know, I had to kind of just put my DM hat on for a brief moment, and it was kind of fun to do that because it made me just kind of dig in for a moment. Because when I do that, just like you always say, you know, Echo he's got this like little spot that lives up here.
Yeah, Echo lives lives in the rear right side of my brain.
Yes,
he's just got a little nook in there.
And I think to an extent, you know, every D&D character does that for a player, and it made me just kind of think about Vale a little bit, and I was like, all right, you know, his father, I like to think I communicated disappointment with the way he you know, and just there's just a way about him, like he's not even like this tall imposing man, but just the way he looks at you, you just feel like, okay, you're in charge. Yes,
he's got
sir.
A presence.
He does. And like between that, and I always felt like he had whatever connections maybe kind of, we'll say, damaged with him and his family. Obviously he's very close with his sister, but his mother would also be that other connection point because, I mean, it's your mom. You know, a mom is never really gonna, well, at least a mother really never should kind of write someone off. Not that a father should either, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. And so there's just a little something there that it's kind of like that's still his way in with the family. And yes, Nia, I did. I mean, I kind of had a very small idea as to, you know, his family. But then I just, it was like, okay, let me just give it that 5 seconds of, let me just picture them. And then it was just there. I don't know.
Love that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And I like how rolling on the table inspired a lot of how that worked, because that's the same thing that happened for Echo, because by total chance,
Yeah.
you know, how many, I almost feel like I shouldn't say anything.
Well, don't. As just as a fan of Echo, don't spoil anything for me. That's all
It's
I'll
not.
say.
So it's not gonna. I guess it's really not gonna spoil anything, because I kind of just sort of twisted like what the results were. It's like what that really meant ended up twisting a little bit. So it was like how many family members does he have? And I rolled 0. It's like, okay, so what does that mean? And I started thinking about that a little bit. It's like, maybe it's not necessarily that he doesn't have any family members, but he doesn't have any that he can really, like, maybe he just doesn't deal with them right now. Like, maybe he just, you know, he went to this monastery and that's it. Like, that's all he's doing right now. So
Yeah.
I'll say I didn't necessarily go by what the table said. But I liked that as an idea, so I just kind of like took that idea and twisted it a little bit.
Yeah.
So any allies and things that I ended up with by rolling on the table have nothing to do with family.
Right.
So it's going to be kind of,
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting.
And I kind of love that creative process for a character. You know, Josh and I are, when we talk about tables, you know, and the video that we made for him, like, the table can be there to roll on and just, yeah, sure, use that. That was there. But sometimes, like, you have this idea for something you want to do, and you're like, I just don't kind of know where to go from here. So just like Josh said in chat, like, you roll on the table, and it just like, okay, we're gonna head in this direction. That sounds like fun. And then everything could just kind of, you know, butterfly effect from there. And it just starts to make sense, and you get this cohesive character that has these deep roots in who they are, and they're connected to the world. And now all of a sudden, as a player, you're more connected to the game, and it gets fun.
Yeah. I mean, the tables are, Josh actually just said it too. The tables are great if you want to just like fill the spots in, but they work really well if you take those as prompts. You know, it's like, okay, you know, 0 family members. I don't know if that feels quite right for this character. What if we just kind of twist that a little bit, or, you know, their ideals or are to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't think of any good examples right now, but that's why I would use a table. So.
But even when we were doing these the character creation sessions, you know, Josh would be like, "Does any of these jump out at you? No? Okay, roll." Like, it was kind of this, you know, if you got something that doesn't feel right, he'd be like, "Don't use it."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. You know,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I like it. That's the other thing Josh just said. He's like, it's like flipping a coin and realizing that you already knew you wanted tails. So even though you got heads, you're like, nah, it's tails.
You know what's funny is I actually I always make sure I have a quarter on me for making decisions, for things with the binary decision, and
makes sense.
because when you do that, you will either go with the thing that you flipped because it didn't really matter, you could go one way or the other, or it made you realize the thing you really wanted and you end up choosing that anyway.
Yep.
And weirdly, even though I could just think through that process and be like, well, okay, the thing I really wanted was this. Having like a tangible thing to do that with, and you flip it and you catch it, like, okay, I didn't want this.
Yeah. I used to wait tables all the time, and sometimes a table would ask me like, oh, if you had to get this or this, what would you get? And I would tell them. And they'd be like, all right. And then they get the opposite. So one time, yeah, and I'm like, so you're just like, well. So one time, like, eventually as a server, you get like kind of bored with your job, so you get a little, sassy once in a while. So like, it's like, were you just gonna pick the opposite of what I said, man? Like, what? And they're like, no, just when you said that, I knew I got disappointed, and that was part of how I realized I wanted this other thing the whole time. And it took
something about your face and voice that made me disappointed in that choice, so I decided to go with the other thing.
I just realized I hate your guts, and I don't trust you at all. No. But it did take me out of my own head a little bit and be like, all right, I need to think about from their point of view. There's something there, I guess, that they just needed help finding. I don't know. I guess I'm happy I could help. So you go back to the kitchen and tell them.
So remember, folks, flip a coin so you don't insult your wait staff.
But it's
Good
just,
golly.
It's just funny how that goes. And yeah, everybody's calling you Two-Face in chat. This is great.
Yeah, I see, because I flip
Harbo.
coins. Harbo. It's Harbo.
It's Harbo.
Skelly, make me a Harbo VTuber thing. That'll be my new Twitch channel.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think we're at a pretty good time length here. Did you have anything else on your mind that you want to share or ask or discuss?
Honestly, not that we didn't already cover.
Okay.
I had some things I wanted to potentially talk about, but we already hit on them.
You got there.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
I'm good, baby.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure I'll remember something right after we.
I'm
right
sure
after
we
stop
will.
the stream.
Of course.
But no, not that I know.
All right. Well,
Sometimes the coin is cursed. I just have to talk about that real quick because
okay.
Petite Elf just mentioned if you flip a coin and you get the same result 3 times in a row, that is probably a cursed coin, and you'll have to get another one.
Oh,
So there are
yes.
rules. Just don't forget this.
Yeah. It's all part of how you get there.
Exactly.
But if you're watching this now live, go ahead and hit that follow button. Make sure you hit the bell. You get the notifications. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Thumbs up. All the things. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. You got It's Evo over there. He's on Twitch and Twitter as well. And yeah, I think we had a good time. Happy you made it. Happy you were able to be here for this one, Mr. Evan. And I think, yeah. Until next time, we're gonna have to do this again. I like this. This is a lot of fun. So, without further ado, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day or night. Both. Have it all. Why not?
Goodbye.